Hi, I'm Gal. I increased ACV from $50 to $150,000 as VP sales in just 12 months, which helped us scale from 1 to 10 million ARR in only 2 years. And kind of one of the things that I learned is you just can't wing it. A lot of people think, okay, we'll just try to increase prices and see how it goes. And what I've realized, it's really a long road of strategic changes that you've got to make across the go-to-market org, and you have to be very deliberate and thoughtful around it. For example, promoting the product strategy shift and looking at pricing not at all as just individual pricing, but looking at pricing in a more strategic way. How do you position it? How do you package it? How do you get the team from a mindset of selling a product to selling a transformation? Because you can't go and look at product level pain points and ask for a 6 or 7 figure budget. That's a completely different discussion, and the person that's approving that has a completely different is going to look at it in a completely different way. So these are just some of the examples of things that we're going to cover. Overall, in order to implement this change, it required really a combination of 3 key people, which were like the executive team, so my CEO, CRO, and I'll put that as one group of people. Then our VP of product, and me kind of leading the project. There wasn't any specific investment other than salaries of people, and of course a lot of time in research and planning and experimenting and having internal discussions around this. And in terms of, so there are multiple people that can go and implement a strategy like that. Overall, it has to involve all of these people, and depending on the company, like marketing, of course, can be a big part. But I would say it all depends on kind of who's going to be a champion behind this change. Maybe someone wants to drive this initiative and can be in a good position to drive it, or it starts with management, and management kind of creates a task force, and someone in higher management, a C-level, a CEO, maybe leads the change and creates a task force around it.
If that resonates with you, listen along. Also, check out our other episodes. You're listening to TLDR, the B2B SaaS growth podcast brought to you by Spear Growth. The goal of the podcast is to enable you, our listeners, to generate an additional $100,000 in cumulative pipeline by May 2024. To do this, we bring people who have made a real impact in their companies. They cut through the fluff and dive deep into one tactic or strategy of theirs. I'm your host Ishan. Let's generate pipeline. Hey Gal, thank you so much for doing this. And this is an episode where I've already told you this, but I'm really excited about this because I have struggled with just raising, just raise your prices is an advice everyone throws about. VC throw these around, right? I think there's a lot of focus from just leadership. You'll see it a lot on, really senior people talk about this on social media also, really good folks talk about this. And I've never, ever seen anyone talk about how to really do it. Because it sounds like, hey, just raise your prices, right? Till people pay you, keep raising it. But then, that's not it. There has to be more, and I would love to unpack that with you. So thank you so much for doing this. This is one of my dream episodes to discuss this. Yeah.
Amazing. Very happy to be here, and you got me more excited now.
Perfect. So, Gal, for anyone who doesn't know you, can you just quickly, in a couple of lines, introduce yourself, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Gal Aga, CEO and co-founder of a company called Aligned. So I've been a CEO for the last 2.5 years. Company is 3 years old, and I've been in basically Aligned is in the sales tech space, and my background is from sales tech. So the story that I'm gonna share is really from my sales experience. So I've been in tech sales for 17 years. Have built through that period, built 4 sales organizations from scratch as VP sales and CRO, director of sales. Did the 1 to 10 million ARR path twice, and 40 to 100 million ARR path once. And today at Line, essentially, Line is a customer-facing collaboration tool for revenue teams, which kind of moves the chaotic back and forth over email into just a single space that you can share with your buyers. It's also called a deal room for salespeople, for Client Portal, for CS, it's called Client Portal. And it basically helps solve the complexity in the sales process and to standardize. It helps standardize a better journey, make sure that all reps kind of follow the same process. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Love that. Okay, but let's just jump into it because this is going to be a packed episode, right? So you've already listed down a couple of things in the TLDR. If you had to just list down, what is everything that you did without getting into the specifics to really increase prices? Can you just help us paint that, like just all the different things you had to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just kind of go for the points, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I think first thing is you just can't, like you said at the beginning, you can't just go and wake up one day and say, okay, this product, let's try boosting price 50% or something like that. It just doesn't happen. There has to be something around it. There has to be a strategy change in the product, how you're positioning it, or how you're packaging everything. You need to be a bit more strategic around that. That's one. Secondly, you also can't wake up one day and expect that your sales team will know how to talk, like such a big difference in terms of numbers. How to sell five figures is different than how to sell six figures. You're basically shifting their mindset and their attitude and teaching them how to not sell a product, but sell a transformation, a business transformation. So specifically for the path that we went through was a 50,000 to 150,000 ARR shift, or ACV, average contract value, and that really requires that shift. That's the second point. Third thing is when you get to that level, then ROI or cost of inaction and having some kind of deeper conversations around impact and numbers becomes very important. And what we did is we utilized our head of analytics at the company to help us do that. Yes, and I'll break it down a bit more and explain why. A fourth thing is I'm a big believer that if you have a POC, a trial process, something that helps prove value, then slowing it down in order to speed up, okay, is like a big thing that you can do because it's just like so many salespeople will just go through it and breeze through it, and it if you don't manage it right, it can risk the deal. It can either make it much better, much bigger because someone is coming into the decision point, your prospects, right? They're coming into the decision point with much more proof, much more confidence, much more time spent with you. And a lot of sales teams or companies kind of are looking at it as more of a giving someone access to a product and letting them play around with it, right? So being a bit more kind of what we did is we slowed down and we tripled the steps and we built a deeper process around it. And then the last thing is specifically, like I'm a big believer in the sales methodology, the sales methodology that's called challenger sales. And I think that specifically when you go up market and you're selling 6-7 figure deals, then you need to a little bit, you need to implement a methodology. You need to kind of bring in something. This is an example, and I'll go more in details about why this one specifically. I believe that it's for enterprise complex sales. It's a great one, but there can be other ones. But I think implementing methodology is a great way to go and increase ACV.
Oh wow. I love that. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions and we'll try and cover as much as we can. Whew. Okay, so you said you need a strategy to increase your prices, right? Strategy is a word that's thrown around. Can you just sort of be more specific? Like what strategy? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I would say that overall you need to. So you're referring to the first point
Yeah,
or
in the
overall?
first point you mentioned there has to be
Okay.
a strategy to increase your prices. Um, what does strategy mean here?
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm referring to is that just taking the same product and saying it's going to cost more okay, is just, or so much more if you're doing a 10% bump or something like that. Okay, that's okay. But the product strategy, right? Something about how you're delivering the product has to be a bit different. So I can give more context, and I think examples are
Yeah.
just easiest to understand. So specifically, when we did this, I was working at a company called Site, and Site was basically I was VP sales, and we were in the it was a visual AI technology for e-commerce companies that's basically integrated into their e-commerce website and helps them improve their product search and recommendation engines. Okay, the carousels that recommend products using visual. Okay, I won't go too much in details, but that's the thing. So it had a suite of multiple products. Okay, you can call them use cases, sub products that we did, or the salespeople basically ran discovery and kind of understood which one would be a good fit, and each one of them had their own pricing, separate pricing. We were measuring volume. It was volume packages, and we were measuring volume differently, and so it was sold separately. And a lot of times we got lucky and we're able to sell a few of them, but the psychology of people is they want to start with one. So when the product is delivered this way, is it's basically a few solutions, right? A few sub products with some common ground, something that connects them, right? And one of the things that we realize is we can go and take this and say, okay, there's like a discovery platform. It's more of a kind of a holistic solution, something that you can bring down into here's your ultimate end-to-end solution to improve your discovery challenges across across your product e-commerce discovery journey. Okay, it uses visual AI, but there are a lot of different ways that you can go and implement us as a company to go and drive a more strategic transformation, right, to your discovery product on your e-commerce website. So when doing that, so that's an example. That's what I mean by kind of thinking about the product
So
strategy.
just
Okay,
to
how are
clarify,
you?
and this may be a stupid question, but so you tried to sort of move from a suite of products to a more of a platform approach. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
And then for that, you had to build uh, build something. That something would be maybe different for every company, but that's something to really tie it all together. And there would probably be a positioning play to sort of figure out, okay, how does all of this fit together? But apart
Yep.
from, let's say, building a few things and talking about different, it just still sounds like, was there anything else? Like, did you did you start selling to a different audience? Was there anything else?
And I think yes, of course, we went a bit more higher up to position it as something more strategic. But yeah, you're absolutely right, and I would say this is not the role of the VP sales now. Like I'm looking in hindsight, right? It's product marketing with CEO, executive. Like it's a deeper discussion. I kind of came up with the idea, and it's a lot of things that helped me today to do this role. But then just brought everyone together, and the CEO and the CRO basically gave me their blessing to experiment and kind of to try and experiment with these positioning directions. And that brought us to kind of contact a company that helped us take this deeper. And the term category design, strategic narratives. You're familiar with that
The
concept?
sorry, who? Sorry.
Category design and strategic narrative.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So we basically brought in an agency that helped us take these initial success and kind of really build a strategic narrative, category design behind this that will really solidify this strategic shift. But it started with just a sales guy, sales manager, that kind of thought about the direction and the idea and experimented, and we saw that there's success. Then really it became a kind of a broader company initiative for strategic change for the company.
And one question, so the positioning thing, changing the audience, moving from products to platform, I think I understand that.
Yeah.
Uh, why category design? Right, so I've heard of, hey, it's good to be in a category of one, it's good to sort of decouple yourself from what everyone else is charging, but it's also incredibly expensive, and categories are so useful, right? Like, if I didn't say I'm an agency, I would have to explain that, hey, in my business there are people and there are teams, and then you'll get to work with a team, and so it's just a lot of work. So, was that important? Is that what you meant by category design? If yes, was it really important to the strategy or not? Or were the other pieces more important?
Yeah, I think that was we started without it. We could have started without it, and it was okay to just tell a bit more strategic story and position it differently during sales conversations. But that's just going to become an isolated thing. It's just less powerful than the entire company and everything singing the same tune, like product marketing and the all of the content marketing and the market and all of the messaging on our website, right? Everything to go and have a very clear messaging that sells more of a platform and tells a different story that could enhance this shift. And also just a reminder, like that was one thing. It came together with a pricing shift. So okay, and that's the second part of it, which is a bit more tactical than talking about a product strategy, which basically means, right, if we're moving from selling multiple products or a product suite, as you said, like there are multiple things and they're priced separately, tying them together and saying, hey, this is one thing, it's always one thing, then we had to really think about, okay, what do we do with pricing? So pricing wasn't just an increase, it was a complete kind of shift into how we look at the entire pricing model. And I can break it down, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah, perfect. Just one last question before that.
Yeah.
When you changed the positioning, when you sort of moved categories, because it was still I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but the new category that you designed must be very similar to the, or close to the, not similar, but close to the old one or close to the multiple few existing categories. So in that case, did the set, and you also meant upmarket, and you changed from suite of solutions to or like to a platform. um, did the who you were competing against in sales, did that change completely?
And no, it was pretty much the same companies, but we were, more pioneers, more ahead. We were trying to kind of, um, bring a name that someone will have a more clear name behind this thing. Like a lot of people were just, so our competitors were all using the term visual AI, and they were calling the individual a product in the suite by name, and they were kind of just throwing these things all around there. Yes, we wanted to make sure that there's one thing that people can more easily identify, and that all tied also into the pricing because it started with the pricing. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And uh, I think there's one more question that, just because I want to implement this, right? So
Okay.
there's one last question I meant. So was there a, because the competition is the same, market has changed, but I'm sure you were selling to the same upper market as well early on. So did you see a difference in close rates uh, when you sort of increase your prices by 3x?
A, actually, yeah. So close rates, the changes that we implemented also improved, so helped us increase pricing, but it also helped us increase close rate. It helps
Oh
improve
wow.
quality. Yeah, because a lot of things that you do are just better methodologies to go and increase ACV, and a lot of things that help improve the quality of selling that drive ACV also drive reduction overall sales velocity, right? Which is the ACV and the win rate and the sales cycle. So
That just sounds
yes,
like a
I
dream.
don't know if it all the time increased. It was also during scale. So when you
Got it.
start scaling, the early team had like a very high close rate, and I was very hands-on in selling. And then when you start, like, there's the law of diminishing returns. So
Got
I
it.
think I think win rate went down just because of that during this period, and stabilized around a certain point, and then went up again. Um,
I love that.
I was saying,
I'm asking
because
very
it's
like,
like two things that's happening together, right? It's
yeah, 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 yeah.
scale plus going higher in ACV. Yeah.
No, I absolutely love that. But what you just said sounds like a dream. Our win rates are going up. Obviously, like there's other factors, but because of this activity that we're discussing on the podcast, your win rates also went up, and you were able to increase price by 3x. That just seems like just like a dream. And then you also were like, let's talk about point number two now, right? I think I, I'm even more excited about point two now. So you mentioned in point two there was a difference in mindset where your team had to stop thinking about selling a product and move to thinking about selling a transformation. What did that really look like? Like, uh, can you just
Yeah.
go into the details? Yeah.
So basically, when you're a salesperson and you're thinking I'm selling a product, okay, you're what that means is you're focused on product level pain. Okay, they're the direct things that the product solves for. Okay, I'll give you an example for aligned. So you remember, like, a customer facing workspace collaboration tool. So one of the things that the product does, it helps you uncover stakeholders that you didn't know that are involved in your deals, because it's a single space. Instead of emails being forwarded internally to a lot of different people throughout the sales process, your decks and your case studies and another follow up,
Yeah.
another follow up, then your buyer basically gets just one URL. So when they forward that internally, like, you can see stakeholders that you didn't know that were involved in your deal. So the product level pain is that, okay, and that's great. That's nice. Like, people love that. Okay, I get more stakeholders. I can multi-thread more. I can see who's involved. I can reach out to them, and I know that the deal is more serious. There are a lot of benefits to that. Okay, but when you're only having that kind of conversation, then it's not the same as selling a transformation. It's different because the product level pain, right? The thing that the product directly solves for is not how executives or how the company talks internally about, okay, we need to make a change in a certain area because we don't know who are the hidden stakeholders involved in our deals. No, they're saying, so a transformation means that there are core priorities and deeper business problems, that this is a root cause. Not knowing who's involved in the deal can be a root cause for a deeper problem. So for example, if a salesperson will learn how to not sell a product but sell transformation at line, they'll know how to get from that level of discussion. Yeah, we don't know who's involved. People are looped in a lot of point. We're trying to be more multi-threaded in our deals. And then they'll start having conversation. Okay, why is that important now? What is that not allowing you to do? If you were able to solve that, how would kind of your company would look like? What's going on right now that makes that so important? Okay, and what kind of, what are the key things right now that are bothering you and preventing you from achieving your goals? So having these discussions allow you to hear something else, and then create a story that is, so basically we're trying to ensure that our sales teams can move up market because we're trying to increase ACV. Okay, let's try to use that as an example. And when we're now in these attempts to increase ACV, we're just getting many more stakeholders, and we will fail to increase ACV if we won't level up execution. Okay, and I have to increase ACV in order to hit my number by the end of next year, because no one is going to approve the number of AEs and SDRs that I need to hire. And I feel like one of the biggest things is the stakeholders. So overall, we're just trying to make complex deals easier to manage. So that's a transformation. If you can help me right now implement change, and the hidden stakeholders, by the way, is just one out of like 5 core product level problems that we solve for. Then if you help me implement these 1 to 3 root causes product level problems, then that would drive that transformation that I'm trying to get to, which is increasing ACV by helping my sales team make complex deals easier to manage. And okay, that's a separate conversation.
Yeah.
So both levels of value, a few more things, both levels of value really are important. It's not that you need to drop the product level of value. And it's important to understand that because companies solve basically the buying training, for example, can also solve the problems that I mentioned, right? And a
Yes.
lot of things that I'm gonna talk about here also solves the problems that I mentioned. But the product level pain is a root cause, okay, of the complexity in ACV. So eventually people buy the product level pain. You have to get to that root cause because that's what people buy, okay? But it's not how executives buy. Okay, an executive, if you go and say, hey, Mr. CEO, Mr. CFO, or SVP, EVP, I need budget for something that will just tell us a little bit more who our stakeholders are. Okay, yeah, that sounds cool and everything. How much? $150,000. Whoa, why? Okay, what is that going to drive? But if you're going to say, hey, we're talking about increasing ACV, okay, and increasing ACV is a problem that costs us da da da, okay, that's the number behind it, not being able to do that. And one of the things that are preventing us from getting there is the stakeholders. So this thing solves that, okay, and that all will help us kind of, and the reason that we're losing is deal complexity, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if you're able to tell a deeper story that talks about their business priorities and you're able to have that kind of conversation, then that's a 7-figure or a 6-figure story. So yeah, I
I
didn't actually, didn't mean to pitch our product so much, but
no. I think this is
just a
great.
natural, easy way for me to
Oh
explain
yeah,
about
yeah,
this.
yeah. It was a great example. Just uh, have one follow-up question.
Yeah,
Do you like so? We do ads and SEO, right now.
yeah,
So we are in the marketing space, and I take these interviews for myself, right? So I really want, like, I'm thinking of how I can use the information for myself. Um, so the problems that we solve, just like you said, like training
yeah,
could solve it. Similarly, other things could solve it, right? Like, hey, yeah, sure, you could do ads, but you can also do maybe outbound or get better at this other thing, or
yeah.
so. Is it so? One is there are alternatives, and two is my solution may be incomplete. Like you said, hey, this is one of the things that will help us go do that. How important is it to talk about the rest and show that, hey, this is an important piece? And let's say if the team does your piece but does not do two other things, they would still not achieve the transformation. So is it like, do you ever talk about the other pieces that you're not really responsible for? Does the question make sense? Or should I like rephrase it?
Yeah, so it's these are things that you're not directly responsible for, yes, but the way that eventually decisions are made is like what bubbles up is not um, how important SEO is. Like, it's not how you specifically solve an SEO challenge, right? Is why we need to do this, and how faster will it get us to where we need to be, and how much, what's kind of the potential, what's going to be the quantifiable number behind making this change. You see what I'm saying?
Got it. So you're
And what
saying
are right now the
for the
initiatives?
for
Why is
the
SEO right now so important to the strategy that we need to invest right now so much in SEO? Um,
got it. So do you recommend the for the transformation that you sell, you focus more on the things that you control, or do you sort of say, hey, I'm part of this larger transformation, and let's talk about that transformation? So which one do you talk about? Do you uh, I don't know if this is a good question or just a
yeah,
bad
yeah, yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. I think that the difference is you're you're having the discussion not only about, so the discussion basically moves from the direct product. So just give me an example maybe first. What would you say is the product pain that you solve for today, right?
So, for example, with like if it's a pure sales-led company, right? So most of the companies that come to us usually have a couple of folks in the marketing team, and they're like, "Hey, we've been running ads," and they'll come to us, and the reason they come to us, "Hey, our LinkedIn ads are just not profitable. Can you figure that out for us?" And then when we speak with them, we figure out, "Hey, there's this entire three other marketing or ads channel they're running. We take on that." But then and then we can say, hey, here's how we can expand. But then all of that, the only reason they want to do it is because there's a target on their head and they're not able to hit it. So they're now looking for external experts. But then ads is one piece of it. They also need to get all of these other things in order so that they can hit this larger target. So when I'm selling a transformation, should I say that, hey, I will like should I just sell the ads transformation, or should I talk about everything else and how when everything aligns, they hit this massive target and then they can raise maybe this large funding round, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't, when you say everything, you mean all of the different products that you have?
The other marketing channels, let's say they need to get their events in order. They need to get, so there's all of these other things which I do not own. But if
Yeah.
those also align, that's the only way they hit their targets. Ads alone would not help them hit their targets.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, and you're talking specifically about LinkedIn ads, right?
Yes, or anything that's
About, let's
involved.
talk about this product for
Yeah,
a second.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, so let's take an example. You're speaking with the VP marketing,
Mhm.
okay, and they need to sell this to the CFO and CEO and
Yeah.
get budget. Um, and so so if it's just basically to help with LinkedIn ads, and why, so if you go and get to the point, let's take a scenario like if LinkedIn ads eventually is a way for them out of all the channels right now to get predictability, okay, and in your discussions with the VP marketing you understand that one of the really critical, like right now the VP marketing is it can't sleep, okay, and the reason that he or she can't sleep is that like the CFO and CEO are demanding to see predictable channels. Okay, they don't want to know that they can scale marketing. And so far they've been doing some influencer work, some newsletter work, and SEO just takes a million years to go and really kind of see a lot of revenue from it, and they can't wait. Okay, and you know that the VP marketing is so pressured because um, they're about to go into Series A, and that's one of the things that they're going to be asked a lot about. Okay, about how do you scale this? If we give you 10x more budget in the next 2 years, can you 10x pipeline and 10x leads? Okay, so basically, if you sell to them that you're not gonna go and help them get LinkedIn ads working better because their CPL right now is $150, and hey, I can get it to $100, but you're basically really understanding this and what's going on, and you're helping your marketing leader understand how how you've helped other companies turn LinkedIn into their go-to channel. This is like LinkedIn ads for this company and that company became how they reached from Series A to Series B and from XARR to YRR, okay, to 3X or 5 was we were able to make it scalable, predictable in X amount of time. And so if you're able to have that level of discussion and to have that level of understanding of why and your strategy, okay, how are you looking at it? What's going on right now? Why is LinkedIn? What is the overall channel? How overall strategy? How this ties into the overall marketing strategy? What are your? It sounds like you're getting into Series A soon. What do you feel like? What when you're having these discussions with your CEO about Series A? What are his or her
Yeah.
expectations, right, from you? Um, then it's a
Got
completely
it.
different story.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think I get how to sort of make the shift. Thank you so much for that. Let's get to the next point. We
Okay.
spend a lot of time on this. Thank you so much, Gal. So on the ROI bit, right? So what do you mean by
Yeah.
you need to change how you talk about the ROI?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, specifically for us, we're selling to e-commerce people, and they were very number focused. So to get to 6 or 7 figure budget, it was a must. And the challenge is that people don't believe ROI calculators, and like typically you just show an average, you show a case study, and you're saying a a case study that may or may not have happened, and that's how they're built up, or they're based on a or they might not be applicable to the level of the problem that I have. And also a lot of times they're just presented too early and in an unprofessional way, like AEs don't fully
Yeah.
get the salespeople. So what we understood is we have to nail this down. In order to do that, we have to become pros at it. So what we did, we understood that just AEs are just going into these calls and they're showing some calculators, and the calculators were very deep, and they ask the wrong questions and how to get the assumptions and how to bring like all the input numbers from the
Mm-hmm.
customer, and the customer would catch them off guard with not talking about things in the right way, and then that's it. Like people were asking for pilots, they're asking for testing
Yeah.
periods because it just didn't work well. So we basically took this more seriously, and the way that we did it is we brought our head of analytics internally, who was doing with customers. Our head of analytics was working with customers, existing customers, to implement measurements and everything. So we brought him to the pre-sales process and got him to train our SEs,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. Basically, we got him to train our SEs and how to talk about this, and I think one of the biggest things is with ROI. Um, what like I don't know how exactly we if you want we can talk about LinkedIn and how it applies specifically like to areas like that, but I think in general ROI, the best way to do it is to try to find what does it cost to do nothing. Okay. What's the price right now of the problem? So if you can put a price behind the problem, so for example, if in our line of business, so if I understand that sales cycles are long, and the reason that they're long is that the POCs that the company is doing are extending, instead of the best reps do it in 2 weeks, but most reps do it in 6 weeks, and that's the difference of the sales cycle, and I understand that the root cause is something that we can solve for, right? The reason is really project management of the deal, and we have a part of our platform like this mutual action plan that solves this.
Yeah.
And then I know to quantify, okay, this 4 week difference, what does that cost you in terms of win rate? Can we check maybe the CRM? Do you know
Yeah.
like what's the win rate between these two buckets? Okay, and then we know the win rate. We know then if we know the win rate, we know how many deals extend, how does that impact ACV, not ACV, how that impacts ARR, and then that's a quantity. Okay, And then if you have that cost of inaction, if you know what doing nothing is costing them, then the flip of it is the ROI. And then what you need to do is to build, okay, the best case is we don't build a better case than fully solving
Yeah.
what it's costing them right now. Just build worst cases, okay, 50% of solving the problem. What would that look like?
Yeah.
Eh, yeah, so that's basically what we did, and the trust level with our champion went up, and the internal discussion for them changed completely, and it led to basically much less prospects asking for a pilot of our product.
I absolutely love that. Do you have time to continue? There's two more points. I would
Yeah, maybe if we can do like 10 minutes.
more than enough. Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Cal. So for the POC process, right? Let's just so you. I think you've mentioned that you will slow it down, right? And then every advice I have heard is try and rush the prospect to the aha moment, and then you're here saying that hey, I tried to slow. I actually slowed it down. So can you explain how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times, we're saying, yeah, let's start POC. Okay, let's do it next week, and I'll give you access to the product, and the prospect plays with it, and then they ask for things, and they ask for more things, and they ask for more things and more things, and it's just a never-ending story because and then they check the wrong things, and they evaluate in the wrong way, and they have the wrong expectations, and they compare you in the wrong way to your competitor. So the POC ended up doing more damage than good. Not only that, they might have not gotten consensus internally from their management before investing all of these resources. You end up just spending a lot of time with someone that's lower level with a lot of misalignment because you try to speed it up.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? So that's what we understood, that the POC for us was a really, really powerful move, but if it's ran properly, and if we're working with the prospect, and if we have executive alignment, so we have a lot of these things. So basically that's what we did. We try to kind of, okay, design it. Let's slow it down, and see what are the things that we can do in a methodological way so we can project manage the deal instead of just winging it, right? And so that's what we did. So basically, if I break it down a bit more, we didn't start the POC until there was a mutual action plan created in a call. Basically, we're okay. We want to do a test. Great, amazing. Um, uh, this is how we typically do it overall on a high level. Who would be kind of involved on your side in order to make a confident yes or no decision, and what overall will you need, a kind of trying to get understanding of who else will be involved, and trying to see if they're aware of the project and everything. And if that's there, okay, the first step, how we typically start a POC, is to have some kind of a kickoff meeting, and we can talk about it more in detail so we can plan and make sure that you're doing it the right way, and we can overall kind of spend some time there to talk about the rest of the process. Okay, so then you have that POC
One
kickoff call, for
just one
example.
question here. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off, but you must get a lot of pushback that hey, I don't want so many calls. Basically, just give me the product. I want to use it. Like, how do you manage the pushback? Because
Yeah,
I love this. It's like a
no,
guided
absolutely. Look, and what I'm saying can't be just copy pasted into any process. So it might be that you have a seven figures ACV and a much bigger sales process, and this should be four steps, okay? Or it might be that you're running POCs in 20, 30, 40K ACV, um, and everything that I just said needs to be faster, okay? So you need to
Good.
adapt it. Um, but yeah, if there's pushback, then basically at the end of the day, it's about seeing yourself at an eye level as equals, right? We're both working
Yeah.
together to see that there's a good fit. And I'd love to offer you these resources, right? That's the mindset, right? I'd love to offer you these resources, and we can do it really in a way that helps you get to eventually the right decision through this. Um, and there's a really good process that we've put in place that helped other companies evaluate things successfully. So uh, we can definitely, if you want, we can definitely kind of try to speed this up and have as little discussions as possible. But from our experience, really, this is what has worked best for others. And last thing you want is right to spend a lot of resources and then get to the point where you've not proven what you wanted to prove.
I love that. I think that's really good. So my favorite part about this is you've taken a process that is POCs that is usually self-serve with support there for you to, hey, let us guide you through it.
Yep.
So I just actually love that. And then you need to figure out how many steps is right for you, for your AC, for your company, for the kind of
Yep.
complexity
Exactly.
of your product, and you need to test that out, and then you build out. So I think
Exactly.
that's amazing.
Just
Just on the yeah.
do here. What's the time frame? Success criteria. But also always remember, don't ask. You're an expert
Yes.
buyer, okay? You're an expert in how to buy your product. They're not, okay? If I'll go right now and try to evaluate SEO agency, I won't have any idea what I'm doing, okay? Um, so you're an expert, and if you're coming in that way and you're saying this is typically here's our typical process, and it's in a deck or something that really shows here's the process, here are typical success criteria that we hear from others, and it sounds only based on what I don't want to assume you know your business better, but based on what we've heard so far, it might be this or that, but I'd love to hear from you. So when you're doing that, you're coming in with expertise around buying. You're offering them a buying process as a service, right? You're offering them support in how to best evaluate and make decisions. That's very, very valuable. And that's a mindset not a lot of salespeople have. They think, okay, I'm here to accommodate, I'm here to please, I'm here
Yeah.
to support requests. But if you're seeing yourself as an advisor around the process as well, then this is where you get the best results.
Love that. The last point, right? Challenger sales. We have very little time, but then what are like the key points to take away on how to do that? By the way, I love challenger sales. Read every article on it. Have heard so many podcasts on it. I try and
Really
implement it. So, like, what are some key points that you've seen are the most useful when doing challenger sales?
amazing, amazing. No, so for us, we understood we're selling an innovative product, a new category. It's an outbound-led motion. So we had to sell against the status quo. We had to educate people about problems that they weren't aware of, and tie everything into priorities. So AEs that were just teaching about a product couldn't really uh, uh, create a compelling case. And the challenger sales just became our go-to approach. A, and what it is, right? For anyone who doesn't know, it basically emphasizes it's an approach to the sales process that found that the personality of the challenger versus lone wolf and others relationship builder, like it looked at personalities of salespeople, and the challenger is the salesperson that's more teaching, tailoring, and kind of taking control, leading the sales process. A little bit like we talked about just now around the
Yeah.
POC. So basically, we taught the sales team how to offer more unique insights, and also, as we talked earlier, right? So not only talk about the product level pain, but how to talk business transformation, how to research before discovery, how to. So we built our deck. Our deck became a discovery deck. It wasn't about here's what we do, here's what we've heard here from others, here's the market, here's our approach overall. How are you approaching? So every slide served the discovery, served questions. So that's one thing.
Oh, wow.
Another was we just taught them how to tailor the sales process a bit more, and we built different decks and assets per industry. We built like a map between pain to buyer persona. So when you're selling to a VP marketing versus a CRO versus a performance manager, lead or demand gen, okay, different discussion. What are their pains, and what level of discussion you want to have. And the last thing is really we just did training around how to run mutual action plans and POCs.
I love that because I love the fact that you said that, hey, this is the kind of stuff that the sales team needs to know or have or be enabled with to be able to do challenger sales versus, hey, just try this. Like here's an article, go read and try. That doesn't work. But then there's a lot of work that the sales leaders or the sales enablement team needs to do in order for the sales team to do it. So I just absolutely love that. Thank you so much. Is there anything that I should have asked but I missed asking?
No, I think we covered a lot. Yeah, I
Perfect.
think we covered a lot. But I think just to summarize,
Yeah.
just don't go and increase prices. Okay, like your sales team just won't handle it. Be a bit more strategic about it. Really more strategic about it, and just plan out what are the things that are preventing us from getting higher in ACV, and tackle them one thing at a time. And know that it takes time. Okay, it didn't take us just 1 month. Initially, I had a big jump as I just came in as VP sales and I was negotiating and going on all of these calls. So you could have a quick fix like that, bring a sales leader that knows what he or she is doing, that can give a good impact. But that could be a way, by the way, to increase ACV. But yeah, just take the time and
I
be sweet.
absolutely love that. Thank you so much, Gal. So if you could just give a quick, uh, like a quick elevator style pitch for Aligned, that would be amazing. Yeah. Anyone listening?
Align is basically a customer-facing collaboration tool for revenue team that moves back and forth over email, all of the links and attachments and everything that goes on in a complex sales process into a single space that you share with your buyers. It's also known as a deal room for sales or a client portal for CS, and it helps manage deal complexity and standardization of the process. So if you look at the problem, then one of the main reasons we lose deal is buyer indecision. Okay, and the root cause for that is buying is just very complex. Many buyers just have a hard time understanding why to buy, how to evaluate the solution, how to sell it internally. And a sales process can include hundreds of emails back and forth with many links and attachments. People are getting looped in at certain points and they don't have everything in front of them. They don't know what has been discussed, or it's just a mess and they don't want to open. So basically, we help organize everything in one place, a single URL, and then all stakeholders can just enter and they can collaborate better with the salesperson. It helps run POCs within it, mutual action plans, create a business case for your champion to go and loop others internally. Everything is tracked, so you get insights, okay, about everything that happens when you're not in the room. You get insight into the deep, like someone looked at this and then brought this person, and then the CFO came in, looked at the pricing comparison for 15 minutes, so you get the deep story. And the last thing it allows as a sales leader, it allows you to go and standardize the playbook. Okay.
I love that. And finally, the last question, Gal, if someone had to find you, follow you, read more of your stuff, what's the best place to do that?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I post on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn responding to DMs, so that's the best place.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Gal. I trust me, I have at least 50 more questions for you. This is the first time we ran out of time before I ran out of questions. This is amazing. This will actually help me a lot in my business. So again, thank you so much for doing this, Gal.
Happy to hear, and was great chatting with you.
Thank you for listening to the TLDR podcast. In case you're wondering, Spear Growth is a marketing agency. We help B2B SaaS companies like yourself with ads and SEO. Check out our website at speargrowth.com. That is SPEARGROWTH.com. Just like this, every episode starts with a 1-minute summary of what we discuss. Pick the next episode to listen to based on what you can implement right away. And after you implement any of these tactics and see an impact, we'd appreciate you drop us a note on podcast@speargrowth.com.